Welcome to Lakes Country Connection, brought to you by Big Deal Business Collective. If you do business in Lakes Country, this is your place. Today's episode is going to focus on the founder story. It's going to feature Rebecca Dahlberg. She's my wife, as you know. This is all about real businesses, real people, and real Lakes Country. So, as you know, Becca is my wife. She's my co-founder here at a Big Deal. She's also my co-host in life. We have a lot of business background. We've started businesses. We've helped businesses. We're going to dive into Rebecca's side of the story. And because I wrote it down, I'm going to read it to you. Rebecca Dahlberg, author, business diagnostician, keynote speaker. Rebecca Dahlberg is a battle-tested entrepreneur, author, and business diagnostician with a proven track record of building and scaling high-growth service companies. Even before earning her business degree or having a formal roadmap, Becca launched her first business, scaling it from 2 employees to well over 60 before we completed a successful exit. Later, she stepped in as managing director for a Texas-based service company. She built the sales team and operational framework from scratch, driving revenue from $500,000 a year to over $15 million in just under 4 years. That's huge. Today, as a published author of her latest book and co-founder behind the Big Deal Event and Co-working Center, Rebecca works directly with business owners across the region to help them stop fixing the wrong thing. Known for her signature ability to walk the dollar through a business, she identifies the hidden operational leaks that hold companies back, helping leaders transform chaotic processes into sustainable, multi-million-dollar growth. Not only a business powerhouse, but like I said, she's my co-host in life and wife. Wow. Rebecca Dahlberg.
I think we just did it. That's all the things about me. There we go.
Absolutely. So you've accomplished a lot. I've been there along the way, so I have an inside track to it, but I'm going to have to proceed as if I don't know you. I don't know your story.
Let's do it.
So Becca, give us the quick version for anyone who hasn't read your book or visited the new event center yet. Okay. What are you working on right now?
So right now I do business diagnostics. So basically what my framework is, in simple terms, is I look at your dollar from the minute it comes in, from the minute someone says yes to you and you get that deposit or you get that payment, and I walk through every process until it gets to the end and your service is complete and that dollar is deposited. And usually I can find all of the places that you're leaking money through processes. The thing I hate to see the most is when companies will think, hey, my checkbook doesn't really match the amount of work I'm doing. And then they do, things that they think they can do on their own. Like they change their marketing, or they hire another person, or they do more advertising that maybe they haven't done before. But if the problem is in the processes, and like 90% of the time it is, then those things don't work either. So you're just throwing money at a problem, and instead of fixing it, you're just wasting more money and getting more frustrated. So that is what I do for diagnostic work. And the other thing,
and I've seen it work. I've seen it in practice. It's amazing what people don't know that they don't know, and sometimes you are able to put it to them in a way that makes them understand that. So
yeah, my book is called Tough Love Business Edition. So, and that's really not a plug. I'm just saying that because how I present things, often I can say things to people and they can receive them in ways that maybe people inside the company, or heaven forbid your spouse, tries to tell you, because we all know that doesn't always work. So sometimes it comes a little easier for me.
Absolutely. What else have you been working on?
So the other big thing I do is this space. So I head up the Big Deal event space and co-working space. So what I do is I'm trying to book events. I'm getting people in for co-working. I'm making sure the space is functional and great for everybody in the community, and especially the entrepreneurs, which is who I have the biggest heart for. And I just try to make sure the space is available and beautiful for everybody to use.
Yeah, and the feedback we've been getting about the space is nothing short of amazing. People love what we've built here. It's a beautiful overlook of the lake, but it also is functional. We have the desks. You put together a wonderful space for people to either work or play in.
Yes, that was the goal, and I think we've accomplished it.
Absolutely. So you also help service business owners specifically key in on some of those hard to find problems, sometimes easy to identify, like you said, from the outside, looking in. What is one thing that somebody watching this could work on right now?
I think right now, if you just take a piece of paper and you take 30 to 60 minutes of your time, okay, and you just sit down and you walk through each step of a customer order and just write it down. Like, don't evaluate it, don't think about it too much. Just say, okay, if I'm a service-based business, this is, I put out marketing, my sales team follows a lead, the order comes to this person, the permit's pulled by that person, the deposits collected by this person, this is how the service, and just look at the whole picture, because 9 times out of 10, especially our really busy service people who got into business to do the service, not to necessarily run a business, have never looked at the full picture. And I promise you, if you just list it out, like, okay, well, 1 through 10, this is how an order processes through my company, you will start seeing where the holes are. And that's the easiest way to start looking at your whole process, instead of just assuming it's your marketing or your sales or something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go off script a little bit here, but if you don't think you can accomplish that on your own, Rebecca is fantastic at it, and she'll at least sit down with you for a free consultation, and you can just see something that you might not have seen before.
Absolutely.
So check that out. So on that note, what is one accomplishment so far in this new endeavor that you're the most proud of?
I think one thing I'm proud of a lot of the things, right? But one thing that I'm really proud of is in middle of a super chaotic season in Texas. Texas had a freeze. Meet with me, I'll tell you more about it. It was crazy. Texas was not ready for this freeze. Power lines went down, water went down. We had, people were warming up in their cars. It was just a crazy couple weeks. And I, at the time, was a part-time salesperson for a generator company. That's all I was trying to do. And I was able to see as orders flooded in and just people were desperate. We were working 16 hours. I roped Justin into helping me man Facebook messages and things. And I think the thing I'm the most proud of is in the middle of the chaos, I was able to stop. I was able to take that hour that I just challenged you to take, and I was able to write down kind of the flow of how it should go so that we could actually manage that chaos. Because I will tell you, every generator company in the area was experiencing the same flood that we were. And I would say 6 to 7 out of 10 of them closed because they couldn't handle the influx. They weren't tracking things well. They weren't servicing the customers. They were getting complaints. They were struggling with Generac itself, where we were able to sit down for that small amount of time. I was able to run that list to the owners and say, okay, this is how this should go. Let's get organized. And we were able to thrive in that moment instead of getting overwhelmed and shutting down.
It was a game changer. I watched, I've never seen such growth, but it was managed. And that's a difficult thing to do. It's easier to say than it is to do. And I watched it in person happen. All right, let's go back to your beginnings, your business beginnings. So the early years, the vividly clean years where we decided to become entrepreneurs. What was the spark that made you decide to build that very first business?
It's funny you say that, because I didn't go into it thinking, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to build a business. Like, none of those. Really what happened was we already had 2 kids. We talked about having more kids, and I was working in the finance world. I was working for a financial planner, and I was just working all the time. It was a demanding job, and I was like, if we're going to have more kids, I want more flexibility. So I looked at kind of my options. We had no budget. We were broke, young parents. So we didn't have like this huge sum of money. And I was like, what can I start very cheaply? And the answer was daycare or cleaning. And I went to one meeting at the county about getting my daycare license, and they showed this video, like life in a day of daycare. And I will tell you, God bless you, daycare workers, that was not for me. I was like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So cleaning it was. My parents actually funded my first professional vacuum because it was expensive.
It was.
And we just ran flyers, and we just said, okay. And the goal, like I said earlier, wasn't really to start a business. The goal was I needed $1,100 a month to make our budget work. Like, I knew that's what I needed. I had ran the numbers. I said, okay, I need $1,100. And that was the first goal.
Yeah, and to your credit, we hit that goal pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And our goals shifted as they do when you start accomplishing what you're set out to do. So we hit that $1,100 a month, and we started moving, and then you hired your first team.
Yeah.
So tell me what you remember about that season.
Well, hiring people is not easy. It's also a scary thing when you've hit the goal. You know, our goal was $1,100, and all of a sudden, if I hired people, that money goes away. You know, and that's the typical scary cycle that most entrepreneurs feel. Like, you know, it's time to hire, but oh my gosh, like, do I have the money?
I know.
Do I have the money to do that? So it was scary, but also, as much as I didn't want to do daycare, I also didn't really want to clean houses. So that really wasn't what I wanted to do. So I learned pretty quickly that hiring the team was essential. So I just made a deal with myself. Like, I just hustled. I was like, okay, we're going to hire these people, but these people have to be busy in order to keep, you know, them employed, but also to keep our budget where it needed to be. And we did. We just worked our butts off to get new clients, and it all worked out.
Yeah, we took on a lot of grassroots efforts, low budget, all of our time and energy. We did flyers, we did networking, which was huge for us. We took every avenue, and we took a lot of advice along the way. What's one piece of advice you remember getting from somebody outside of us early on?
Well, I got a lot of advice from my mom on the actual cleaning. That was interesting. You know, she was very much like, if I'm going to pay somebody, these are the things I expect. Because once I had this dream, like, I'm going to make $1,100, and I had ran all the numbers. But the first time I got a client, I was like, wait, how do I clean a house? Like, I hadn't really thought through that part of it. So I remember having a lot of conversations with my mom, but
it was probably your first effort in system building.
It was. And that's one thing I will say. When I was young in high school, let's go way back, like 100 years. When I was young in high school, I was part of what was called at the time FLA, Future Leaders of America. I grew up in Nevis, Minnesota, and our group went to state and did a lot of things. We were a pretty highly accomplished group, and I owe that all. Mrs. Kellner was her name. Not that she'll ever see this, but she was our leader, and she taught me over and over about processes, you know, and to the point of how much the details mattered. Like, we had to measure out our posters, because back then we had to draw our own posters and stuff, and we had to measure them out. And she was just so detail oriented, and she really instilled that in me, that to rise above, it's really a matter of details. And so that's something I've always held on to.
Okay, back then, what shifted your mindset to go from it being a side gig, a side hustle, or even a job, but not a business? What shifted your mindset to go into business, to make it a business, to make a real run of making it our life?
I really want to say it was like all my great ideas and inspirations, but that's just not true. What really, I think, set me on the right path, or set me on that path, was it was working. We were getting clients, we had good employees, like, I could see how to scale. I'm not someone that really accepts average very well, so I'm just like, let's keep going.
Good enough is not good enough.
But also, I was part of BNI, huge international networking group, and we got free tickets to go see Brad Sugars, who's the founder of Action Coach, and listening to him explain the idea of working on your business instead of in your business was like groundbreaking, and blew my mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to do this all different. Like, we went home, we rewrote the processes. We really figured out how to free ourselves up to have that kind of eagle view on what the business was. And I bought his whole set of books, and I, you know, kind of went home and devoured most of them that made sense for me. And it really changed our outlook. Like, just that simple idea of working on your business instead of in your business was a huge game changer for us.
Yeah, and I want to say that it's an easy phrase to say. You've heard it all around. Work on your business instead of in your business. But what Brad Sugars taught us was we had to think about that statement. It wasn't just about, oh yeah, I need to work on my business and not in my business. It's easy to say, I got to take myself out of the cleaning, but you really have to dive into the how, the what, the why. It's not just saying it. It's not even just starting to try to do it. It's actually figuring out another system on how to become less of a cog in your business and more of an influencer of your business.
And that was really the beginning of my love for processes. Because once I took myself out of like the cleaning role, then I realized, really, as a business owner, my job is to create the processes and the systems to make the company successful, and then give those processes and systems to my employees. Yeah. But that was really what my function was, and that's really what my function has been ever since. And that definitely fueled my love for the understanding and creation of processes.
Absolutely.
That's a weird thing to love. Maybe that's a weird thing to love, but I do love that.
We both really appreciate process improvement.
Yeah.
I like to dive into, on my side of things, I love to dive into how things are being done, what I see about how it could be done better. And Becca's not a whole lot different in that aspect. We love to grow. We love to see growth. So.
Oh my gosh, we're process nerds.
I know, we are.
It's okay.
All right, so what was the hardest part of taking that business from just the two of us all the way to over 60 employees?
Employees.
Oh, of course.
Employees are hard. Managing all the emotions and the thoughts and the, processes. I always try to be a really open owner. So even once I hired managers, I had really regular meetings with my managers to hear their ideas, to, try to implement what made sense, to keep growing, to keep evolving with the industry. But probably holding on to employees, I'm not sure. I would say that's hardest because it's no one's like goal in life when they're a little kid to grow up and scrub toilets. Right. So we had to readjust and say, okay, we have to quit looking at this as it's people's careers. And we realized if we got 10 months out of a cleaner, we were lucky. And we just then built that into the budget that we knew we were always going to be hiring. We built it into our systems, into our training with that reality in mind, instead of this like hopeful goal that you'll have a great cleaner that'll stay forever, because that's just not reality in that particular industry.
No, because it is a job that you didn't want to do.
Nope.
I don't want to do. So it is hard. And we were at the top of the scale for cleaning jobs. We were paying as well as we could, but in the industry, it takes your margins away. The contracts are what they are.
We had some really innovative ideas on pay that now I've seen pop up in other cleaning companies, and I'm kind of proud of that. I'm like, I started that.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, so let's move down the line. You alluded to it a little bit, stepping into another person's service business. So at this point, we had already started and sold a couple of businesses, and we've learned a lot of lessons along the way.
Yeah.
We got to Texas, and you found a job that you wanted to tackle. And, when you got there, they were averaging about $500,000 in annual revenue, which is respectable. But you stepped in and you saw a whole lot of room for growth.
Yeah.
So what did you do when you walked in? How did you fix some of their broken processes? And what built the momentum? Well,
I think it's funny because the people who own the company, I had met them early on, and we were, we had become friends, and they did what I think so many of us do, is they kind of made it seem from the outside like this business was a well-oiled machine and it was running so great, and they just didn't happen to have salespeople, And so I was like, oh, I can do sales for you, like whatever. I needed something part-time to do anyway when we moved. And I think that the biggest thing was really one day I just had to write it out, and I couldn't unsee when I realized that things weren't running well, because it's just not in me to ignore it. I'm not that's not my job kind of person. So once I sat down and I was like, okay, this is how it needs to run. And I was able to go and say, okay, guys, like, you need help. I'm good at this. And for the first time, which was really scary, I had to kind of toot my own horn and just walk in and say, I can't wait for you to realize I know how to do this. Like, I just went in and I was like, let me save this for you because you're sinking.
Right.
And they believed in me, and that was great. And I was able to really start working with them very closely to implement all the processes. So I literally set up their sales program, their sales team. I then went and set up their processes, their order processes, how they invoiced and how they pulled permits. Like I was really able to walk through. I was able to hire their whole staff and get them. And then I hired Justin to come do all of our marketing because I didn't trust anybody else to do it when I had to run the sales team.
Right. And
did that answer your question?
It kind of did. It did. So then the catalyst happened. So you had set them up on a better path, better systems, some processes, but even that wasn't enough. As you spoke of, the catalyst was the freeze of February 21, and it shifted everything. We found even holes in our own boat.
Of course.
So it was another eye-opening moment, but it was a catalyst that helped move into a new era of that company. So tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, my goal was I didn't want that momentum to end. I mean, it was terrible momentum. I mean, it was a terrible situation that created the momentum, right? The freeze made people desperate. I mean, there were new babies at home without heat. There were people on oxygen machines that needed electricity. Like, it was a desperate moment for a lot of people in the area.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there were problems everywhere. There were infrastructure issues. You couldn't get on the road. Our trucks did mobilize. We were able to get people some power as fast as possible because that's what we did. But you eventually scaled them from that 500,000. And I would consider that the moment that things changed. It didn't turn it into a $15 million company overnight, but that was where you developed the best system. So
it was also where everybody realized it could be what it could be. I think that it's one thing to try to sell the dream to somebody, but when you can show it to them, like, okay, so what we did is we took that, honestly, a huge influx of money, right? And we rolled that forward instead of being like, yay, we're rich for 3 days or, whatever. Like, we took that and, and then eventually I made the connections needed inside Generac to be afforded. Because if you guys don't know, Generac's a big national company, but they don't actually sell generators. They have contractors like the company I worked for that sell them. Because I was able to then make some connections into that company, we were afforded some other opportunities. And, from there, we did a lot of pilot programs and that I got us involved in. And then also I was able to then get us to the status of being able to negotiate some of those national contracts that I got us involved in. And that really just kept the sales coming. Instead of saying, okay, here's the freeze, we got a bunch of sales and now let's slow down. I said, here's the freeze, we have some extra funds, let's keep going. And that really helped. Yeah.
So that massive growth, you could say, probably was a foundation of how you were going to build processes and
because I wasn't afraid to stop. And that's like the biggest thing I would tell people. When things are the most chaotic, you have to be able to stop for a day and just look at your processes and make sure, because a process that works at 500,000 does not work at 1 million. Processes have to change as you scale in order to keep scaling. So that's one of the biggest things I tell people. I hear so often people say, well, this used to work. Like, why? I don't know why I can't get this to work anymore. It's because at 500,000, you can have certain processes that don't grow to that scale. So you have to be able to stop and say, okay, what's no longer working and what can we do different to make that work, instead of trying to hold on to, well, this used to work. Like, you have to be able to make that change.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've learned a lot of lessons along the way at that point. Now you've taken all of those lessons, you've published a book, we've opened the big DL.
Yeah.
You spearheaded the launch of this co-working space, event center. How do you think that translated? Do you feel like the lessons you've learned along the way are going to translate to other people's businesses if they read your book, if they come visit with you in a consultation?
It does, because the truth of the matter is when you get down to where your processes are breaking, there's really specific reasons, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially in the service industry, but really it's pretty universal that there are certain ceilings you hit. You hit a people ceiling because a lot of times your people aren't trained quite right. Like, you don't actually have a job description for them. You just know you need a secretary, so you hire someone to do that without really yourself understanding what that job needs to be. You can run into a messaging problem. I hate when people say family owned and operated for over 100 years. Like, that's great, but everybody says that. Like, you actually have to find the thing that makes you different, not just put out generic information, because that just gets washed away. But we can talk more about that if you get a hold of me. But the biggest one is the owner ceiling. We see that where owners just can't quite get out of their own way because, at a certain amount of revenue, the owner can manage the sales and the operations and, blah, 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 all the different things. But as you grow, you can't do that anymore. And owners have to be willing to make that transition. And those 3 ceilings are pretty universal. So that's why the things I teach in my book, the things I teach in my speeches, and when I work one-on-one with people, walk through those and we can just directly answer those head on, those ceilings, and then we can change processes.
Yeah. All right. So what is the single biggest lesson that you think every small business owner, or even medium-sized, heck, large, I don't know, what do the business owners of Lakes Country need to hear?
Let's see. It's hard to pick one. I would say like one of the biggest things truly is just being able to step back and look at your business, like really taking that time. Even if it's just an hour, the hour I took in the middle of a freeze and chaos in Texas, and just literally on a piece of paper, just write down what the process is. Because if you can't do it because you don't know, that's a problem.
Yeah.
B, if you write it down, you need to make sure that it's actually happening the way you think it's happening, because sometimes you think it's happening one way and it's not.
Absolutely.
But it's the easiest way to start seeing your whole business.
Yeah. Tracing your dollar. Doing the dollar walk.
That's what I call it. Doing the dollar walk, walking through each step and seeing how your dollar moves and probably where it's dropping.
Yeah. If you want to spend that dollar, you gotta find out where it's falling off.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a great lesson for anyone watching this. But as we've said before, and we'll say it again and again, this is how local businesses grow, and it's together. We've created this place. Rebecca had a big hand, and it's kind of her vision.
Yes.
Honestly, it's one of the first things she thought of when we started doing this, was she wanted to have a space where people could come, do work, gather together, and host some big events that are powerful for small businesses. So small businesses need space to grow. They need a place to meet clients. They need an active marketing plan. They need that visibility. Everybody needs visibility. Even if you think you're doing well enough, I promise you want to get the visibility, because you never know what's going to happen down the road. So
absolutely.
All right, so let's do a quick local love moment before we wrap this thing up. So Rebecca, shout out a local business, a trade organization, a community partner that you appreciate, and tell me why.
Okay, I chose today Stacy Hovelson with jBloom. I absolutely love the jBloom products, and I love the way that Stacy loves them. They have these such unique pieces that you can literally have handwriting on your pieces. So like I took a love note from my husband, and I had it written on some things for myself. He wrote a note to the girls one time, and I had that put on some jewelry for them on what we call Family Day. We celebrate every year. It's just amazing to be able to do that. And then she also has all the permanent jewelry. I have a lot of the pieces, and I just think it's an amazing company, and I love how much Stacy loves it, and you can just see it pour through her when she talks about it.
Absolutely. And our kids love it. Yeah. But here's the thing. You don't just have to get jewelry from Stacy. I mean, you can, and you should, if you like that kind of thing. Do it.
It's also super affordable, I will say that, because I got a quote for a permanent bracelet one time from a jewelry store. It was like $100 and some. You can get them from Stacy. I think almost everything you can get from her is under $50. It's kind of like that 35 to 40. I don't know. Don't quote me. It's somewhere around there. But it's super affordable to get pieces. We sound like we're doing a commercial for Stacy, but we are, because she's amazing.
She's fantastic. Yeah. But here's what else you could do. Even if you don't necessarily need permanent jewelry or custom jewelry, have her do a pop-up at your event. If you have an event coming up, she'll come do that.
And she brings a crowd.
People love this stuff. So that's another opportunity to partner up with the local business that we love. Think about that. Yeah. All right.
How about you?
Master Lucas at the Detroit Lakes School of Taekwondo and Kumdo. He is a fantastic community member. He pours back into the kids that he teaches. But not only that, he helps adults too. And he's growing his adult program, and I've seen a lot of positivity in the community. There's not one person I've met that said a bad word about Lucas.
No, he's amazing.
I highly suggest that you go meet with him. If you have any interest in an alternative training program, you just want to learn a new skill, you want to become more disciplined, or you want to have self-defense, or if you just want to have a weekly activity, it's a fantastic thing to check out. So
he's also an amazing business person. So if you're a business person watching this, he's a great person to connect to. He has a lot of great ideas, and he really has a lot of community involvement, and he's always seems to be willing to share that with people.
He's a great member of the community, gives back. So that is my suggestion for you. In that note, you should drop a comment on this and tell us who you love, who we should highlight. Who should we know about? Who should have more exposure?
Who should we put on the podcast?
Who should be put on the podcast? Who needs that visibility? And tell us why they're so great and what you want to know about. So let's end one move that every business owner could take this week to to give their business a little bit of a boost? Becca?
I would say more messaging.
Okay.
Whatever you're doing, do more, because there's always more messaging that you could do to make sure that you're saying and say really what's different about your company. Don't tell us you're family owned and operated and you're highly trusted, because those words, I love them, but they're not the right words. Like, say really what makes you different.
Yeah, they should be included sometimes.
Yeah, but quit watering down your message.
But don't make that your message.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right? You're the marketing guy.
Absolutely.
That's my advice.
No, yeah. So mine along those lines is go to Facebook. Let's just say Facebook, or choose your favorite social media platform. Post something real about your business, something unique, something that makes you different, that differentiates you from your competition, that elevates you above their level.
Yeah.
Post that about your business, but don't leave it there, because that is where all the people that already like you are. Cross post that into a community group that makes sense for your business. You would be surprised that when you put something real out there, people will connect to it and it'll have more legs than if you just put it into your closed circuit group of people and let it die there.
And we have a community page. We're kind of a big deal. Justin moderates that.
I do.
When can they post about businesses on
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? We're kind of a big deal. I started it. It was a community effort. It has a lot of business.
Positivity.
Positive. It's sort of rooted in community, and business kind of took over. So I expanded that to let people post about their business Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because it seemed like people wanted to do that and wanted to hear about it. So
so do that.
Yeah. But the rest of the week, talk about your favorite event coming up. Talk about other people's businesses. Give recommendations. Yeah. Be a community member.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you do business in Lakes Country, this is your place. We'd love for you to like, subscribe, comment.
Do all the things.
Do all of the things. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you'd like to see in the community. We're adding levels to our thing all the time. This is a big deal. We want it to be a big deal for you as well.
Yeah.
So, like I said, like, subscribe, share, comment, tell all your friends. Visit abigdl.com, abigdl.com, for all the information you could hope to know about what we're doing here at the event center.
The collective, the event center, private events, co-working, one-on-one marketing, all the things
coaching,
are on that website.
We have a lot to offer, but we are always looking to add. So give us your feedback. Tell us what you're going to do, what you want us to do, what you think needs to happen in this community. Come check out an event. This Friday, we'll have our coffee chat. It's open to the public. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to RSVP necessarily. Just come on out, walk through the door, grab a free cup of coffee, take a chair and have a conversation. You can be here for 10 minutes. You can be here for an hour. But it's a highly motivating way to end your work week.
We love it.
My guest today was Rebecca Dahlberg. Her book is available on Amazon. Tell us the name of the book.
Tough Love, a Business Edition.
Okay, fantastic. Go out and get that book. I bet you if you brought it up here, Rebecca would even sign it for you.
I would.
So this is real business, real people, and real Lakes Country. Again, as you go out into the world, I want you to be seen, I want you to be connected, and I want you to be a big deal.